Hi, this is Mark from Skywagons University. So, I'm standing in a wasteland here at the end of the airport runway at Placerville. We haven't done a video for, a couple of months. And the reason is because this airport was America's largest helibase last month because of the Caldor fire. So, literally looking to the east from Placerville, everything you can see except this last row of trees was on fire. And it extended from pretty much here, 4 or 5 miles away, and it burned like 80 miles up into the Sierras, up towards Kirkwood and South Lake Tahoe, and it burned it's still lit actually, it's just way up there in the hills now. And it was there were 27 helicopters based here. There was Sea Kings, S-61s, there was Sky Cranes, there was Hueys, there was Black Hawks, there was Bell 206 Jet Rangers, the runway was closed. The smoke sometimes was so thick you couldn't see about 20 yards in it. So we had no flying, no general aviation. The whole airport was covered in helicopters and tankers and an operations base and a temporary tower. And we had no general aviation flying for a month. So can you imagine me taxiing down my side road to do a video on YouTube? They wouldn't have been up for that. So we didn't do that. Plus, Don, who's here on the camera, his house is in the middle of it, over there in Grizzly Flats. And on like day 2 after it lit, it burned up and burned all of Grizzly Flats. So there was like 500 houses in there and about 300 of them burnt down. And Don's, who's right there behind the camera grinning, his house survived, totally survived, and it's a log cabin up in the woods and it's perfect now. So he just got over coronavirus and he's fine, and the house has survived, and the airport is now back to GA. So now we're going to be getting back to some videos. So the first one we're going to do is going to be on a mythical creature, a unicorn only heard of in legend. People all know what a unicorn is, but they don't know if it exists, and no one's ever seen one alive. But we have one here today, and it's actually a unicorn Cessna 180. And the reason I say it's a unicorn is because if somebody educates themselves about wanting a Skywagon, and they don't really know the market yet, they'll call up, and the call will go something like this. Hi, I'd like to buy a Cessna 180 or 185. Here are my preferences. Can it be a late model plane, a 24-volt plane, and very low time airframe, undamaged, no damage history, complete logs, and what else? Oh, let's have a float kit, but never have been on floats. A low time engine, upgraded, maybe a 520 or 550. Beautiful paint interior, yeah. Complete logs, a 3-blade, maybe a wet wing and a stole kit thrown in there, and no hail, no corrosion, and perfect pedigree. And by the end of it, I'm like this. That's a unicorn. That doesn't exist. So then we start getting into how they're all damaged and some logs are missing and they're getting older now. Well, this plane we're going to talk about today is that unicorn. Literally, it is the unicorn. So now, if we're careful, we can watch it appear right here. So here she is. Oh, 31, it's a bit high for that. So we went over the dream list. This plane has all of it. And we've done 180s and we've done 185s and we've done a lot of model year changes, but I just wanted to show you this because it's the perfect example of its species. I mean, and literally, we'll go through every little bit of it and every expectation and every specification. So it's a 79 180. What's 79 180K? And as you'll know from the model year changes and the float kit videos, the 75 and newer 180s with float kits have the big fin on them. So the big fin means it's got a float kit and therefore is eligible for the Kenmore gross weight increase STC, which ups the gross weight to 3190 pounds. So total time is like 1,400 hours on everything since 79. The engine has 300 hours, but it's not the 0470U that's normally in the 180Ks. The Ks are the 77 to 81s. This is a P-Ponk 520, 470-50, 520 upgraded carbureted 280 horse Continental that's in it with 300 hours on it. So 1,400 and 300, nice times. And also a big wide chord Scimitar 3-blade on it. Perfect paint in the classic 79 scheme. So that would be any plane with this scheme with that little like red dash arrowhead in there and the small end numbers. That's a 79, 180s and 185s. Things that it's the dream list. There's no damage history. There's complete logs since new. It has a float kit, but it's never been on floats. And people will say, how do you know? Well, it's definitely never been on floats because see these two grommets? That's where the front two bolts of the float attach block will bolt to, and when you do bolt it to it, you drill two more holes, and then as you tighten it, you'll make an impression here, and that impression will mean it's been on float. So it's definitely never been on floats because there are only two holes. And also, here's float kit, and it's got the water rudder centering springs back here and the big fin on it. Also, being a 79, it's got the jack screw access lubrication, so you can go in there and maintain your jack screws without doing the whole Egyptian crawl down to the back to get to them. It's 24 volts, it's the late start, so 24 volts starts in 78, late style panel starts in 77, and this being a 79 has both. So it's got all the late model features. In fact, 81 being the last year of production, this is a 79, there's not many built after it. It's got a ground power input, it's got a wet wing, and there's a plane landing, but it won't be too loud. So the wet wing is a Cessna 1979 and newer feature, and you can tell if it's a wet wing. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but if you look at this line of rivets from here that way, front edge, these rivets look like they are Cherry Max. You can see the centers in them. That is factory. That means it's got a wet wing on it. So float kitted 180s in 81 and float kitted 185s from 81 to 85, you could have bladders put back in them factory new. It would be an option from the factory new. And they cost 900 bucks, which is a bit of a con because in 77 and earlier they were free. But anyway, this is a wet wing plane, so it's 88 gallons of fuel, 2 caps only. Remember, if there's a cap here on a wet wing, it's wet, and if it's a float kitted bladder plane, there's 2. So it's got that. We're not good at this. Life. Okay, so it's got LED landing lights. It's got 31-inch bush wheels, Alaska bush wheels. It's got the 6-bolt main wheels, the double puck brakes on it. It's got complete logs, no damage history, no hail, no corrosion. I mean, you can never remove financially by paying for it missing logbooks. You can never remove damage history, it's always on the pedigree. You can never remove total airframe time. So those 3 things, airframe time, damage history and logbooks, this plane, they're all perfect on it. And then if we look inside it, so here we are inside it. I'll just turn on the panel. Avionics master switch, that's a 78 and newer feature. It's the late style panel. So this panel starts in 77 and this is a 79. So it's the cluster of 8 and the slightly lowered, smaller yokes. If this was a 76, the yoke would go in about here, and these instruments would be a little bit more like that. It would still be center stacked. The upgrades that it's had, amazingly, it's still got a King KX170B in there, but they're so bulletproof and so a high amperage output that they're actually very usable. But it's got an engine analyzer, CHT, GT on it. It's got manifold pressure and an RPM on here, digital. It's got a digital tach. There's its engine time. It's got ADS-B transponder. It's got this Avidyne GPS, which it's a GPS comm. It's kind of like a 530. It's not the most intuitive radio because I'm Garmin, but once you've flown a little bit, it's actually very good. I mean, there's a map there. It's got a synthetic vision screen that comes up here when you're flying on it. So it's got Avidyne in it. A very nicely configured sort of semi-old school with a little bit of GPS, IFR panel on it. It's got a tailwheel lock, which was an option on a 180. I mean, you'd hardly ever use it, but there's a tailwheel lock, and then the usual rudder trim. And then the appointments in here, like upgrades and stuff, it's got Rosen visors. This is the float kit V-brace. Remember, it's never been on floats. And the previous owner put in this interior, very expensive, like full leather deluxe interior in it. It's got door stewards, articulating seat on the pilot's side, shoulder harnesses, and if you can look in the back, you can see it's got the single piece. Let's move that seat forward, just keep it rolling. It's got the one-piece bench with a split back, low back, so it could be a 6-seat. Extended baggage is behind there. There's a set of wheels in the back that are a little bit more friendly and not as big as these 31s if you wanted to go a bit faster. BAS inertia reel shoulder harnesses, headlight. I mean, I could just go on and on and on about all the different things that it has.
Cessna 282, 1 kilo, runway 26, clear for takeoff, no delay, traffic, left base, sling.
Clear for takeoff, no delay, 21 kilo, thank you.
Cessna 7 Whiskey, Charlie number 2, follow sling, 1 mile left base, runway 26, clear for the option, on the go, left close traffic approved.
26 left, clear for the option, 227 Whiskey, Charlie number 2.
Cessna 7 Romeo Alpha, number 3, follow Cessna 3 mile final, runway 26, clear to land.
Number 3, clear to land 26, 7 Romeo Alpha.
Camarillo Towers, Cessna 227 Whiskey, Charlie, 4 mile final. We're going to be doing touch and go, and then head back to John Wayne Airport.
And Cessna 7 Whiskey, Charlie, Roger, runway 26, clear for the option, on the go, right downwind departure approved.
Right downwind departure approved, 227 Whiskey, Charlie.
Helicopter 97 Zulu, frequency change approved.
Change approved, guys, that's it.
Traffic, stationary 919 for golf, 7 miles to the northwest,
Placerville, 21 kilo, short final, 23, Placerville. Boing, Boeing, Boeing. Power off, tail down, can't see a bloody thing. Waps away. So, we proved one thing today. Unicorns do exist, but very, very rare. So, this is Mark at Skywagons University doing another video about these planes and other planes. There's a lot of them on the site. There's a subscribe button down here at the bottom if you like it. Just subscribe on there. Click on the thumbs up if you like it, and the thumbs down, I suppose, if you don't. We're going to be doing a Maul next, and then we've got a Myers 200, and we've got some other planes. So it's going to be more regular now, as long as the airport doesn't catch fire, or Don's house doesn't catch fire, or coronavirus doesn't get one of us again. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. It's 1 in a million, this plane, and it's hopefully it'll last another 50 years at least.